Hello everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you today. My name is Amaya. I'm the Deputy Security Attaché at the U.S. Embassy here in Bratislava. And I am going to talk to you about mental mindset and reaching your goal. What you see up there is correct, running 217 kilometers or 135 miles. That is a goal of mine and a race that I'm going to tell you a little bit about. But first, I'll talk to you a little bit about why I'm here. Why me? I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a behavioralist. I'm not a scientist like one of your other speakers. I'm just me. But I have a passion, and I've dedicated my life to pursuing this passion. And in that I've learned, and I've begun to understand how we can use our minds in order to reach our goals. And that's the story that I would like to share with you today. So, I'll give you a little bit of background. I was born in Colombia, South America. I grew up in the United States, and at the age of 17, I joined the military. When I was 24, I became a police officer. 3 years later, I became an investigator with the same police department. And then in 2009, I decided to move from local law enforcement over to federal law enforcement, and that's where I've been ever since. And now it has brought me to here. So, how does running come into play? Well, when I was in the military, I was forced to run. So for 10 years, I ran continuously, even when I didn't want to. After 10 years of running, I left the military, and I thought I would never run again. But that wasn't the case, because that's when I decided that I was going to start different races. And I started with 5Ks and 10Ks, and before you know it, I'd done my first marathon. And next thing you know, I decided to attempt Leadville 100. It's one of the hardest 100-mile races in the United States and in the world. Some of you may have heard of it from the book Born to Run. But it was a very difficult race, a lot of obstacles and a lot of challenges. And there's a 30-hour time limit for the race. And I finished, if you can see, 29 hours and 23 minutes. And that's continuous running. You don't stop to, sit down and take a couple hours break. You can, but your time's going to be, the clock continues. So it was a rough race. I learned a lot about nutrition. I learned a lot about hydration. I learned a lot about myself at 3 o'clock in the morning with absolutely no sleep. So I went on, and in 2017, I decided to attempt my second 100-miler, and I did a little bit better, 23 hours and 12 minutes. It was a very good race, and because I'd learned so much at Leadville, it allowed me to be very successful in this race. This was in Florida. 2 months later in Vermont, I attempted my third 100-mile race, and this was all in 2017. And now we come to Badwater 135, or 217. And that's the race, that's my goal race. That race starts in the lowest elevation point of California in the Badwater Basin. It's below sea level, and it ends at the Mount Whitney portals, which is at 6,100 feet in elevation, or 1,859 meters. It goes through Death Valley Desert, which can reach temperatures up to 114 degrees Fahrenheit, or 45 degrees Celsius. Extremely challenging. They only allow 100 runners every year, so it's extremely competitive. And you have to have quite the running resume, in order to apply for the race and in order to be selected. But that's the example that I'm going to use today. And you can use any example of any passion, any desire, or any hobby that you have for what I'm going to talk about reaching your goals. It doesn't have to be running 217 kilometers through the desert. So, we'll talk a little bit about mental mindset, some tools such as visualization, refusing to quit, why that's important, and survival. I'll share a short story, and some mental training tips that you can do at home. So, we can start with mental mindset. I like to call it warrior mindset. What is a warrior? Somebody who's engaged in battle. Does it have to be physical battle? Not necessarily. What is a mindset? It comes from your attitude, right? And your attitude is really very subjective. So your attitude is going to be your mind, your feelings about something, but they're based on your experience. And that's why some people have good attitudes and some people have very negative attitudes. And when we meet them, we know instantly what their attitude is. But it's all based on all of their experiences in their life and everything they've gone through. So you develop your mindset, and it's your response to something, right? Based on those, it's your attitude based on those experiences. And that becomes really your approach to something, and that becomes very, very important when we're talking about warrior mindset. So we can start with visualization, and we can start with seeing ourselves achieving our goals. You can walk through the entire process or whatever it is that you're doing, so you can imagine yourself reaching your goal. For me, I start visualizing my race, and I can imagine getting up in the morning, prepping, getting ready, going to the race start, see myself starting, see myself running. And then really the most important thing is visualizing that end goal, crossing that finish line and looking up and seeing that time. And sometimes it's very, very difficult to visualize the time that you want to finish in. And that's why visualization is really so important, because if you cannot visualize that, then there might be a problem. Maybe you didn't train enough. Something is keeping you mentally from achieving your goal. And that's really where you're not going to be able to reach your goal. You may not be able to. So visualization is extremely important. Positive self-talk, that's something else that you want to do. Replacing words like cannot with will. And it's not about saying I will try, because that gives the connotation that you may fail or that you may not succeed. So it's not I will try, it's I will accomplish this. I will succeed. I will finish. I will reach this goal. So positive talk is another part of visualization and replacing those negative words. Refusing to quit. Former Navy SEAL and author of Unleash the Warrior Within, Richard Makowitz, describes it as being a warrior is not about the act of fighting. It's about being so prepared to face a challenge and believing so strongly in the cause you're fighting for that you refuse to quit. Now in that we go back to believing so strongly. That, again, is all about the mind. It's all about mental mindset. Another quote by Tian Tai, given enough time, any man may master the physical. With enough knowledge, any man may become wise. However, it is the true warrior who can master both and surpass the result. So, for my races, as the example, I have to prepare physically, yes, and there's a lot of physical preparation, a lot of running, a lot of training that comes into play. But I also have to be mentally prepared. I have to visualize. I have to talk positively when I talk about my goals. So all of this comes into play. Here's my survival story. Dr. Bloom is a very well-known psychologist around the world. He used to work with the Los Angeles Police Department, and he used to treat the police officers that were involved in traumatic events. They were involved in shootings, stabbings, events like that. And so he came to Seattle area up in Washington State to talk to us about survival and how to deal with traumatic events. And the example that he provided is you think about, tomorrow I'm going to exercise. I'm going to start an exercise program. And so you say, tomorrow morning I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to the gym and work out. Well, tomorrow morning rolls around and your alarm goes off and you're nice and cozy in your bed. And you're like, oh, I'm not getting up. No, I'm not going to do that today, right? Some of you can understand this and identify with it. And I can too. And you think, okay, no. I know, I'll just do it tonight when I come home from work. That's what I'll do. I'll start exercising tonight. So you hit the snooze button and you go back to sleep. Well, tonight rolls around, you've had a long day at work, things were very difficult, you came home late, and you're hungry, you sit on the couch, and you think, oh, you know what, I'll do it tomorrow. That's what I'll do. I'll start tomorrow. I'll start exercising tomorrow. And tomorrow rolls around again, and you still haven't done it. Now it's a week later. So you know what? Sounds really good. How about we start on May 1st? That's good. That gives me almost a week, right? I'll start exercising on May 1st. Well, May 1st rolls around, and you may have done it once or twice. But then next thing you know is you're into August and September, and you still haven't started exercising consistently. So I've got a great idea. January 1st, right? New Year's resolutions. That's when the gym is the busiest. They make the most of their money then. So you say January 1st, that's it. I'm going to start exercising on January 1st. January 1st rolls around, and maybe you did. Maybe you exercised for a couple days. And maybe you made it through the month of January, maybe even the month of February. By the month of March, let me tell you, those gyms are starting to look really empty now. It doesn't take long. So you think, okay, well, no, I'll start again. That's what I'll do. I'll start on this day. And you continue this struggle for weeks, maybe months. You continue it for a long time. Now, let's say something happens, because remember that Dr. Bloom was talking to police officers that were involved in traumatic events. So let's say that you or them or whoever is involved in a traumatic event, a shooting, a stabbing, God forbid a tragic plane crash or a traffic accident, and you're laying on the ground and you're bleeding. And you say to yourself, I have to survive. But you just want to close your eyes and you just want to go to sleep. And you think, no, I got to stay awake. I have to survive. You know, I have to survive. I have to do this. But what makes you think that you should now survive after you have been training your mind to be defeated by your body, the coziness of the bed, the comfort of the couch, right? All of that has defeated your mind continuously over the past several weeks, months, years, whatever it has been. And now suddenly you think that you can survive the most tragic event maybe in your life, a plane crash, a car crash, so many things that can happen to us, but suddenly you think that you can do it. So I ask you, could you? It's all in the mind, and it's all about training the mind, and it's all about positive self-talk, visualization, and small wins. So I'll talk a little bit about that now. Small wins. I don't like the cold, and in the morning when I get up, I don't want to get up because it's cold outside of my bed. So how am I going to go on my run when it's freezing? Well, that's my obstacle, so what do? I set the thermostat to come on, and I put all my running clothes in maybe the bathroom, where it's nice and cozy and warm, and I jump out of bed, and I get in the bathroom, and it's warm in there, and that's where I get dressed to go on my run. Once I'm dressed, I'm warm, I can go downstairs, have my coffee, and be on my way, really. So that's my obstacle, and that's how I get through my obstacle. That's how I get past it. And that is a small win. If you want to eat healthy, don't buy bad food. Don't keep it in the house. You know, that's a challenge for you, maybe to go to the pantry to grab that food that is unhealthy. So that's a small win. And all of these small wins really are training your mind to be stronger than your body. That's what you're doing. You're exercising your mind. So repetitions. That's another thing. And having the right attitude, positive self-talk, and being on the offensive. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in comfort in a minute. But steps to success is clarity, is focus, and trying different things. So having goals, setting goals. You may not know what you want to do. You may not be exactly sure, but you can try different things. And that's where stepping outside of your comfort zone comes into play. So don't be afraid to try new things, because you may find that you like something, whether it's a recipe or whether it's a new exciting adventure or a new exercise. Don't be afraid to try it, because the worst thing that's going to happen is that you might fail. But if you fail, the more times, there's actually a saying, the more times that you fail, the faster you will succeed. So you learn so much. My first 100 miler I didn't necessarily fail, but I had a really rough experience, but I learned the most from that 100 miles. And that's what failure is about, but it's about succeeding. It's better than never having tried and never having experimented at all. And then you just have to take action. That's it. Just get out there and try it. Thank you very much.